The smoking ruins of old Valyria came into view, shrouded in a haze of mist and ash. Daenerys rode atop Drogon, her hand gripping the base of his neck as his wings beat powerfully against the hot, swirling winds. Below her, the crumbled remnants of once mighty spires jutted from the ground like jagged teeth, testaments to a civilization lost to fire and destruction. As Drogon descended toward the heart of the ancient city, Daenerys's breath caught in her throat. Dozens of dragons soared above the ruins, their scales glinting in hues of crimson, obsidian, and gold. They were of varying sizes, some no larger than Drogon's siblings, others rivaling or even surpassing him in majesty. Their roars echoed through the skies, a symphony of power and chaos that reverberated in her very bones. At the center of it all was an immense, cracked stone pit that seemed to radiate ancient magic, the air around it shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Standing within the pit was a figure cloaked in robes of deep red and black, his presence commanding and enigmatic. This was Varos, the man who had summoned her. Surrounding him stood a dozen fire priests, their hands raised in silent invocation, their robes flickering with the light of the flames that danced around them. Drogon landed with a thunderous thud, shaking the ground as he folded his wings and let out a warning roar. The dragons circling above paused, their attention shifting momentarily to the new arrival. Daenerys dismounted gracefully, her eyes locked on Varos as she approached the pit with measured steps. The heat radiating from the ground beneath her boots was intense, but she pressed forward, her resolve unshaken. Varos turned to face her as she neared, his features illuminated by the glow of the pit. His face was sharp and regal, his eyes glowing faintly with the same fiery intensity as the dragons that flew above. His voice, deep and resonant, carried across the ruins without effort. "Daenerys Stormborn, Mother of Dragons," he greeted, his tone filled with both reverence and authority. "You have come as I knew you would." Daenerys stopped a few paces away, Drogon looming protectively behind her, his eyes fixed on the dozens of dragons that watched from above. "You summoned me, Varos," she said, her voice firm. "I have come to hear the truths you claim to hold, but I will not be made a pawn in someone else's game." Varos inclined his head, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You are no pawn, Daenerys. You are fire incarnate, born of the blood of Valyria, destined to reshape the world. But even fire must be guided, lest it burn without purpose." He gestured to the pit, the flames within it intensifying as if responding to his command. "This is the heart of what remains of old Valyria's magic, a wellspring of power that binds all dragonkind. It is from here that the dreams of ice and fire originate, and it is here that the truth of your destiny will be revealed." Daenerys's gaze flickered to the fire priests, their silent presence both unsettling and intriguing. "And what is your role in this, Varos? Why summon me now, after all these years?" Varos stepped closer, his red and black robes billowing slightly in the heat. "I am the last of House Valyria, one of the great Dragonlord families that once ruled this empire. The Lord of Light has chosen me to restore Valyria to its former glory, to reclaim what was lost in the Doom. But before that can be done, the dream of ice and fire must be resolved. It is a dream that spans centuries, a battle of opposites that will determine the fate of this world." Daenerys crossed her arms, her skepticism evident. "You speak of ice and fire as if they are more than words. What are they, truly?" Varos's glowing eyes met hers, his expression grave. "Ice is the great cold that stirs in the north, the ancient darkness that seeks to consume all life. Fire is the spark of hope, the will to resist, the power to reshape destiny. You, Daenerys, are the embodiment of fire, but fire alone cannot triumph. Balance must be struck, or the world will fall to ruin." Drogon growled low, his tail lashing behind him as if sensing the weight of Varos's words. The other dragons above let out answering cries, their voices blending into a chorus of raw power and potential. "And what do you seek from me?" Daenerys demanded. "Why bring me here to this place of ghosts and shadows?" Varos extended a hand, palm up, as if offering her the flames themselves. "I seek not to command you, Daenerys, but to stand beside you. Together, we can awaken the full potential of your dragons, harness the magic of Valyria, and confront the frost that threatens all we hold dear. The path will not be easy, but it is the only way to ensure the survival of this world." Daenerys studied him, her mind racing. The ruins of Valyria, the dragons, the flames. It all seemed to converge on this moment, a culmination of everything she had fought to achieve. Yet doubt lingered, a nagging uncertainty about Varos and his true intentions. "I will hear your truths, Varos," she said at last, her voice steady. "But know this, I am not here to serve your ambitions. I am here for my dragons, for my people, and for the throne that is my birthright. If you mean to deceive me, you will not live to see your dreams fulfilled." Varos's smile widened slightly, and he bowed his head, spoken like a true Targaryen. "Come, Daenerys. The flames await." As Daenerys stepped closer to the pit, Drogon by her side and the other dragons circling above, she felt the weight of destiny pressing down on her. The dream of ice and fire was no longer a distant prophecy. It was here, and it was hers to confront. As the fiery glow of the magical pit flickered across the ruins of old Valyria, Varos extended his arms, his voice echoing with both power and conviction. The gathered dragons above let out deep, resonant cries, as if drawn to the force of his words. Daenerys stood before him, her eyes narrowed, Drogon growling low at her side. Varos's gaze locked onto Daenerys, his eyes glowing with the intensity of his faith. "The Lord of Light has shown me the truth in the flames, Daenerys Stormborn. The doom that approaches is not of men or thrones. It is older, colder, and more relentless than any war we have ever known." Daenerys tilted her head, her skepticism clear. "You speak in riddles, Varos. If you wish for me to listen, speak plainly. What is this doom you speak of?" Varos lowered his hands slightly, his tone shifting to one of solemn gravity. "The flames have revealed the enemy to the north, the great cold stirring beyond the wall. This enemy, created by the folly of the children of the forest, is a threat to all life. The Night King and his army of the dead march ever closer to Westeros. If we do not unite, the living will fall, and this world will belong to the darkness." Daenerys's breath caught. She had heard whispers of the wall and the terrors beyond it, but she had dismissed them as tales told to frighten children. "The Night King," she repeated, her voice low, as though tasting the weight of the name. "And you say he was created by the children of the forest?" Varos nodded, stepping closer, his expression grave. "Long ago, the children used their magic to forge a weapon against the first men. They created the Night King, binding ice and death to their will. But their creation became uncontrollable, a force of annihilation that turned on its makers. Now, it awakens once more, drawn by the shifting balance of the world." Daenerys' skepticism gave way to calculation. "If this is true, what do you propose we do? The houses of Westeros are fractured, at war. They will not set aside their feuds for a threat they cannot see." Varos's voice rose, imbued with the fervor of his vision. "That is why we must unite them. The Lord of Light has foreseen this doom and has chosen us. You, Daenerys, the embodiment of fire, and me, Varos, the last of Baelorys, to lead this world against the darkness. The usurper, Robert Baratheon, and the houses of Westeros must stand together. Only through unity can we destroy the Night King and the army of the dead." Daenerys stiffened at the mention of Robert, her hatred for the man who had usurped her family's throne flaring. "You would have me align with Robert Baratheon? The man who stole my family's legacy and hunted my bloodline to near extinction?" Varos stepped forward, unflinching. "Yes, Daenerys. The Iron Throne means nothing if there is no world left to rule. You must rise above vengeance and ambition. The houses of Westeros, Baratheon, Stark, Lannister, and even your Targaryens must stand as one. Only then can the flame extinguish the frost." Daenerys turned her gaze to Drogon, her hand resting on his warm, scaled neck. She felt the pull of destiny in Varos's words, but also the weight of her hatred and pride. "You ask much of me, Varos? Too much." Varos's expression softened, though his tone remained resolute. "The Lord of Light does not ask. He reveals what must be done. If we fail to act, the cold will consume all, and the fire you command will gutter out into nothingness." For a moment, silence fell between them, broken only by the low growls of dragons above and the crackle of flames from the pit. Daenerys finally spoke, her voice steady. "I will consider your words, Varos, but understand this. I will not be used, not by you, not by any god. If I march to war, it will be as Daenerys Stormborn, mother of dragons and rightful queen of Westeros." Varos inclined his head, respect evident in his expression. "Then you have already begun to walk the path the Lord of Light has set for you. Consider well, Daenerys. The dream of ice and fire is upon us, and the choices you make will shape the fate of all." As Daenerys turned to leave, Drogon unfurled his wings, casting a long shadow over the ruins. The dozens of dragons above roared in unison, their cries echoing across the ancient city, as though heralding the arrival of a new age. Daenerys mounted Drogon, her heart heavy with the weight of Varos's words. As they took to the skies, heading back toward her fleet, she couldn't shake the feeling that the future of Westeros, and perhaps the world, was now tied to a battle she had only begun to comprehend. As Daenerys stood amidst the swirling heat of the ancient pit in Old Valyria, Varos stepped closer, his eyes glowing with an almost unearthly light. The flames from the pit surged higher, casting shifting shadows across his face as he spoke, his voice imbued with a solemn, commanding resonance. "To unite the houses of Westeros," Varos began, "we must do what they cannot, delay the Night King's advance. The enemy grows stronger with every life claimed, every moment of hesitation. To give the living a chance to stand together, we must bring the fire of Old Valyria to the frozen wastes of the north." Daenerys listened intently, her unease palpable. The ruins of Valyria buzzed with the presence of dozens of dragons circling above, their cries filling the air with an ancient power. Yet it was the enormity of Varos's plan that now held her attention. "I will send Scourge and Vermilion," Varos continued, his voice rising with conviction. "They are dragons unmatched in size and strength, both larger than Balerion the Black Dread. They have been imbued with the magics of the Lord of Light, their fire a force that will burn even in the deepest cold. With their might, we will set the north ablaze with dragonfire, slowing the Night King's march and breaking his momentum." Daenerys's brow furrowed. 2 dragons alone, no matter how powerful, cannot stop an army of the dead. Even the largest dragons are vulnerable to the Night King's sorcery. "You risk them, and all for a delay." Varos turned to her, his gaze piercing. "It is a calculated risk, Daenerys. Scourge and Vermilion are not ordinary dragons. The Lord of Light has fortified them with protections that the Night King's powers cannot easily penetrate. They will sow chaos among the dead and buy us the time we need to rally the houses of Westeros." Drogon growled low behind Daenerys, as though sensing the weight of the discussion. Varos stepped closer, his expression grave. "But your dragons, Daenerys, Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion, they are not yet ready to face the Night King. They are bound to you, not to the fire of the Lord of Light. Their vulnerability lies in their connection to you and their untempered power." Daenerys stiffened, her hand instinctively resting on Drogon's warm scales. "You're asking me to leave them here? To abandon them in Old Valyria while the world faces its greatest threat? I am asking you to protect them," Varos replied, his tone unwavering. "Here in Valyria, under the protection of the magic that still lingers in these ruins, they will be safe. The Night King cannot reach them here. If you take them north, you risk not only their lives but also your cause. The Night King could turn them against you, using their power to strengthen his army." The thought of her dragons falling into the Night King's hands sent a chill down Daenerys' spine. She looked up at Drogon, who stared back at her with fiery eyes, his growls softening as though he, too, understood the gravity of the choice. "And what will I fight with?" she asked, her voice tight. If I leave them here, how do I rally the houses of Westeros? How do I prove my strength? Varos gestured to the pit, where the flames flared once more, casting light on the circling dragons above. You have more strength than you know, Daenerys. The presence of Scourge and Vermilion will show the North the power of Valyria's fire. Your dragons will remain here, growing stronger, while you unite the living. When the time comes, they will rejoin you, not as vulnerable children but as the full might of your legacy. Daenerys clenched her fists, the conflicting emotions warring within her. Her dragons were not just her power. They were her family, her connection to her ancestors. Leaving them felt like severing a part of herself. But Varos's words carried weight. The Night King was a foe unlike any she had faced, and if he could truly corrupt her dragons, it would be a disaster beyond imagining. I will consider your counsel, Daenerys said finally, her voice steady but tinged with reluctance. But know this, Varos. If I leave my dragons here, it is because I choose to, not because you or any god commands it. Varos inclined his head, respect evident in his expression. As it should be, Daenerys Stormborn. The choice is yours, as is the destiny that follows. As the conversation ended, Daenerys turned to Drogon, her heart heavy with the enormity of the decision before her. The roars of Scourge and Vermilion echoed through the skies, a reminder of the ancient power that now stirred in Valyria. The dream of ice and fire loomed closer, and Daenerys knew that every choice she made from this point on would shape the fate of the living and the dead alike.